I want to do an experiment with you. Think about a time when something was physically painful, a toe stub, a broken ankle, something like that. Now I'd like you to think about when something was emotionally painful, something that made you sad or even angry. Your heart might start to beat a little bit, like mine is right now, and you might start to sweat. Well, these were real questions done by psychologist Nathan DeWall, where people were asked these questions and then asked to rate their pain on a scale of 1 to 10. What he realized is that people were rating their emotional pain higher than their physical pain. And so then people were given Tylenol. And when they were given Tylenol, they were rating their emotional pain lesser than their physical pain. So this shows that there is real pain that goes into emotions. This is what we call social pain. And social pain is pain as a result of an interpersonal rejection or loss. So basically, the little neurons in your brain are giving you pain signals even though there's nothing actually going on. So what does this mean? Well, why would people have real pain from emotions? So let's take a trip back to the past. Back when we were hunter-gatherers and we were not, it was very dangerous out there. Humans needed food, protection, and other people to survive. So this meant that basically the shortcut became no group equals death. And although that sounds a little bit blunt, that's exactly how our brain processes things when we are excluded. So for 2 years, I've been studying the implications of ostracism. And no, not ostriches, ostracism. Ostracism is the exclusion from a society or group. And ostracism, although it might not seem like that big of a deal, it can come with many mental health detriments. So to highlight why ostracism is so bad, I'd like to talk about another study. In this study, we have Group A and Group B. In Group A, people were harassed, and so what they had no idea is that all of the participants were actually actors. When I'm thinking about it, I would much rather be ignored than harassed, but that was not the case. People who would much rather be harassed than ignored. So what does this mean? So this means that ostracism has really bad effects, and we would much rather have negative social interaction than none at all. So another thing that ostracism can do is it can actually change your personality. So we all know about the bandwagon effect, right? The bandwagon effect is doing something just because others are doing it, not because you actually want to. So this is a lot more than just following the trends. This is a lot more than just following the trends. So this actually relates to what we do in groups every single day. So somebody who has been previously ostracized might actually change their personality. So they might like a new kind of music or pick up a new style. Even on a physical level, somebody who has been ostracized can actually have real changes in their taste buds. So think about if you don't like pineapple pizza and you actually start to enjoy pineapple pizza because others enjoy it. So 5-star editing, right? So how would we study ostracism in a way that we can do it on a larger scale and not just from asking people questions? So Professor Kipling D. Williams was actually thinking about this as well. In this scenario, he was thinking about what he could do to study ostracism on a larger scale. So when he was doing this, somebody threw him a Frisbee. When they threw him that Frisbee, the other 2 people started throwing it back to him. When they were throwing it back to him, he was like, oh, yay, I got a Frisbee. So for 3 or 4 minutes, they started throwing this Frisbee. They were throwing it, it was kind of like a game, and then at some point they just stopped throwing it. And so he was super annoyed and upset. And he realized, why am I so upset about something that is so minimal and small? Well, that was because he had just been ostracized, and the brain has these immediate reactions to it. So he realized that he could create this program in a different way. This is called Cyberball. And Cyberball is basically this Frisbee scenario except in a digital world. And so this digital game can have so many implications to how people think about ostracism. To know what I'm about to say next, we need to talk about the temporal need threat model. The temporal need threat model basically says that people have 4 basic social needs. These needs being self-esteem, meaningful existence, belonging, and control. So although these sound pretty similar, they're actually very different. So self-esteem is how we feel about ourselves, while meaningful existence is how we feel we measure up to society's standards. Belonging is how important we feel in our social groups, and control is how much influence or power we feel we have over a situation. So what do these have to do? Well, there are 3 stages of ostracism I'd like to talk about. And think of these stages as like the stages of grief. So first we have the immediate stage, the coping stage, and the resignation stage. These stages are very different. And so first in the immediate stage, we have the 4 basic needs are threatened. So you are immediately ostracized. So your brain is getting that ping of anxiety, right? They're super nervous. And so when this persists, we have the coping stage. And the coping stage basically means that you're using pro-social strategies to try and get yourself back in favor with your group. So that means that being kind, or if we're back in the hunter-gatherer days, sharing food, things like that. So when ostracism persists, we have the resignation stage. And the resignation stage comes with many mental health disorders. These include anxiety, depression, permanently, as well as a lowered self-esteem and a lower interest in being in social interactions. Another thing it does is it also creates a spike in violence and aggression, and it's really, really bad. And so we don't really talk about it that much. And it's important that we talk about this because it is so detrimental to our mental health. So I'd like to switch it up now. Raise your hand if you have ever felt like you have been excluded. Okay, a lot of you. And then, okay, put down your hands. And then now close your eyes and raise your hand if you feel like you excluded somebody else. Okay, a lot of you as well. So this question was actually taken out of one of my favorite movies, Mean Girls. And I love Mean Girls. It is so interesting, and it shows us a lot about what people are doing in groups. We're in high school, right? And we all have our own social groups, and it's stupid to say that we don't. And the important thing about what I want to leave with you today is that we need to be more aware of how we are excluding others and how others are excluding us. So for me, it's knowing a little bit of comfort, knowing that when I've been excluded, this is what's going on in my brain. And when I've excluded somebody else, it makes me feel bad, and it makes me feel that like I need to work harder to include others. So next time you think about excluding somebody, step into their shoes and think about the other person. Thank you.